Unions, unions, unions. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Progress America Unfiltered. Today, we are going to be talking about a topic that we have visited previously. We talked about the Starbucks unionization efforts, at least the ones that are being led here in San Francisco, as we interviewed one of my good friends, Kyle, who works at the Starbucks down the street from me, and talked to him about what is going on with his union organizing tactics. And like so many of these stories, the workers that are leading these fights on the ground are doing this in addition to the daily tasks that are so abundant in their work life. And so whenever there's an issue that relates to union organization that leads to workplace workers' rights, it's something really important that we should all be paying attention to and doing our absolute best to unify and call out. So there was a significant decision recently that is going to make it easier for unions and labor's advocates to organize. This decision was brought forward by the National Labor Relations Board in relations to a case by Cemex, which is a building materials company, that is going to make it easier for unions to organize across the country. So really historic stuff. This is part of the Biden administration's pro-labor agenda, and to see it playing out in businesses and companies across the country is really exciting stuff. Tyler, I'm going to pass it to you to give us the rundown on what's going on with this building materials company and what is going on in this labor organizing fight.
Okay, first of all, I'm like really excited. It's like a hot labor summer, and this is just like the perfect way to wrap up, as we head into fall. We're going to have a hot labor fall, or at least a crisp labor autumn, because it is amazing that we're getting this new ruling and these new rules from the NLRB. So basically, through this Cemex decision, they changed their rules and regulations for the timely and fair process for workers that are seeking union representation. And so they actually came out with this very helpful little flow chart that I'm going to try to share with you all now, if I'm able to. Let's see. Okay, so here are the new bargaining orders based on this. Basically, when a union requests recognition, because a majority of their employees have said that they want the union to represent them, the employer has to recognize and bargain with the union or promptly file a petition seeking an election. So let's look at this handy dandy flowchart of options if you are an employer and your employees ask you for a union. Employees ask employer for voluntary recognition as a union. That's step one. You can either go straight to the left and recognize the union and begin good faith bargaining. That's the best option. I would love everyone to just do that. But we don't live in a perfect world. So option two in the flowchart is the employer could file a petition seeking an election. But then, if you go to the left and they commit an unfair labor practice that prevents a fair election, guess what happens? They get the Cemex bargaining order and the union is immediately recognized by the NLRB and bargaining has to begin. But another alternative that could happen is that the employer doesn't commit unfair labor practices and then they have an election in a free and fair environment. We love a win. Now, the worst is to the right, where the employer does not recognize the union or file a petition. So basically, they're just doing your classic run-of-the-mill union busting, which we've seen all too much of. And then the board, the NLRB, finds that the employer committed an unfair labor practice. Boo, we hate those. But guess what? If you're caught doing that, the board issues the Cemex bargaining order. You have to immediately recognize the union and begin bargaining for a fair contract. How exciting. So what this means is if you are an employer who wants to union bust, it just got a whole lot harder for you to do that successfully. Because if you are found union busting, as this process begins and employers are looking to get you to the table, you have to immediately recognize the union, which is just a huge win from the NLRB. We've seen so many companies, Amazon, Apple, Starbucks, Trader Joe's, probably more that I can't think of, who are, preventing their workers from doing their constitutional right to organize and start unions by, holding captive audience meetings, taking down union flyers. There's actually a story from an Amazon fulfillment center in Albany where management called police on workers who were trying to organize their employees outside of the store, things like that, which if those things were to happen now under this new ruling, the NLRB would require that employer to recognize that union and begin bargaining in good faith. So this is a really big deal.
Absolutely, Tyler. And, I loved that flowchart because so many of those different avenues resulted in there being better bargaining positions for employees throughout their companies. So really, absolutely exciting things. And Linda, I want to pass it over to you to get your reactions on this because as we know that so much of advocacy in the workplace is centered around expanding workers' protections, workers' rights, that can range from anything from making sure that they have better health insurance to better, safe working conditions. What are the things that you're most excited about when it comes to the prospect of greater unions in the workplace?
Yeah, I think this is really exciting. It shows how much it does matter who's in all places in the government. I can't remember like when was the last time anyone asked about the NLRB at a presidential debate, but this is the kind of power that the executive branch actually does have, and it makes such a difference in the lives of working people, potentially millions of people's lives, and just this resurgence of labor that we've seen. It's huge. It really has to do also a lot with this labor market where employers are the ones who are desperate for employees rather than the other way around. And that has a lot to do with President Biden's economic policies as well. That, it really is just very important that everyone who wants a job, not everyone, but that most people will be able to find work, that it's employers. We all see these signs outside about, how much more pay and benefits that they have to provide to actually attract workers. But then they do that and they still don't let workers unionize, treat them badly. And I do think that this is an important step in addressing that. I think it's going to be a bit dependent on who's in charge. At the NLRB. And so, with a Republican administration, they might not enforce this right, but it's still a very important step, and it's exciting to see.
Absolutely. And so, Tyler, do you have anything that you would like to highlight too when it relates to kind of going past the the union intimidation efforts from these companies to deliver wins to unions across the country? Is there anything else you want to highlight?
Well, I just want to say, like, on a personal note, I'm a person who has actually unionized a workplace before. It's not something that everybody experiences. So this might not feel like, maybe you're in a workplace that doesn't have a union or you think you don't need a union at your job, and maybe you don't. But, as a person who went through this process from the beginning, from trying to organize, trying to get enough signatures, trying to sign enough union cards, then going through the bargaining process, having a ruling like this in place would have made it so much easier. I think, I struggled for almost, I think, 2 years at the company that I was at trying to get a fair contract in place for myself and for my coworkers. So it's just amazing to see this happen and know that future organizers won't have to hopefully deal with the things that we had to deal with, because before, the whole deal of committing unfair labor practices was to intimidate workers out of voting for the union or participating in any organizing efforts. And now the risk is, if you're trying to intimidate employees, that you're going to automatically hand those employees a union, which I think is so, so powerful for workers. But that said, the fight isn't all the way over. As excited as I am, as somebody who's been through the bargaining process, I know firsthand that there are a lot of tricks that employers have up their sleeves to make bargaining for a fair contract as painful as possible. I've seen it myself, things just like unreasonable demands and contracts, not showing up to meetings, like stonewalling, stalling. All of these things can happen even after they've recognized your union, to stop you from getting a fair contract. So we've won half the fight and we need to keep pushing. But, I'm so, so excited on a personal note, and just from as a progressive in general who loves labor and loves seeing workers get the safety and benefits and pay that they deserve.
Absolutely. And there's something that I found in the research prepping for this call that I really wanted to share today, and it is this graph. This is my first time sharing screen on on our recording software, so I'm a little nervous about it. But okay, can you all see this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. So this is a graph that shows as union membership declines, income inequality increases. And so as we see in 1950, we see a kind of a divergence that is growing in terms of union membership declining and income inequality growing up, income going to the top 10%. And I just think this is like a really fascinating kind of tribute to the fact that as there is greater sharing of wealth and greater kind of access to advocacy within workplace environments, it would make sense that there would be a greater share of wealth equality within the country. So as union membership declines, as these employers seek to intimidate people from joining unions, or the propaganda that is anti-union that we've seen time and time again surrounding different things, we do see there to be greater wealth inequality throughout the country. So I just think that this is something to really kind of attribute, that this isn't something that just relates specifically to people in a workplace. This isn't something that just affects them while they're in their day job, affects the conditions in there. This is a larger socioeconomic viewpoint that shows that wealth inequality does increase when union membership decreases. So just another attribute of how important unions are. And so I just want to pass this to both of you for any reactions. Or Tyler, I know you have another comment that you want to jump in here with as well. You just put it in our little chat box, a little
Yeah,
side
absolutely.
memo.
So, one of the amazing clients that I get to work with at Progress America is Trader Joe's United. And we've had such a great time, helping them in their fight to get the fair contract that they deserve. And it looks like they are likely to be one of the first, if not the first, unions to seek a bargaining order under this new Cemex ruling. So the ruling was just handed down on Friday. And in March, Trader Joe's United in Essex, New York City, Essex Crossing in New York City, tried to have a union election that ended up in a tie. And a lot of that was due to unfair labor practices on behalf of Trader Joe's. There was a lot of worker intimidation, harassment, things that intimidated workers from feeling like they could show up and vote for the union. So it looks like they're going to file under this new ruling and hopefully be able to get the union that they deserve, because truly they worked so hard and there were multiple unfair labor practices, including surveillance, including retaliation firings and retaliation suspensions and things like that. So hopefully we will see one of our very own clients get some justice under this new ruling, and hopefully we'll have another unionized Trader Joe's store. They've been able to unionize 4 across the country, and this would have been number 5 had it not been for the unfair labor practices. So I would love to see some justice there, and I'm really excited.
Absolutely. And Tyler, look, I love this this vegan ravioli I got at Trader Joe's, but I know it would taste even better if it came from a unionized store. So as
right.
Tyler said, it's going to be a crisp labor autumn coming up, and I hope that everybody can go enjoy a pumpkin spice latte from a unionized Starbucks store during this crisp labor autumn. I would love it if we could make that a hashtag that we start sharing. That is just too funny. Oh yeah, here we go. So with that, we're going to wrap up this episode as we continue and wrap up hot labor summer and move into the fall. We'll be continuing to cover labor and all of these very important issues here at Progress America Unfiltered. I hope you all can like, share, and put your comments down below and tell us what you thought of this video. What do you think about these labor busting techniques that are coming from companies across the country? And what are you excited about, too, in the fight ahead for labor? This is a really important movement that we're all getting to witness firsthand. So it's really exciting stuff. Thank you all for joining the conversation with us. Hope you all have a fabulous day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.